All right, what's up? What's up, everybody? So we um we got a lot to talk about, right? I've been waiting for quite some time to do a stream like this. Um, it's been waiting for a minute, right? Runeblade's been in a rough spot, all things considered, for the better part of a year, I would say. And I think that that is very quickly going to change. And I'm going to lay it all out for the stream for you all tonight. Basically, the goal of this stream is to give my thoughts on the correct way to approach each hero. And because we got to talk about four of them today, we have quite the list, if you will. And one thing that I also want to mention is how I- I've been positioned in a very unique situation that I believe is beneficial to this topic. And no, I don't mean I played Runeblade for 3 years. Therefore, might grasp onto it in a unique way. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to specifically the fact that I played Runeblade for 3 years and then basically stopped playing it for almost an entire year. Still played it a little bit, but for the most part, I did some Dromai, some Bravo, some Victor, a bunch of other stuff, right? So when I kind of latched back on for Rosetta, I had the unique situation, the unique ability to very quickly abandon the traditional ways of building the Runeblades, which gives me a unique perspective on, you know, specialist knowledge, but at the same time not latching on to the way things have been done, right? When I tell that situation, it brings me to a conversation that I had with a fellow teammate, Josh. Um, we were on the way to a trip or on the way back to an event or something, and we were talking about his Dory deck, and he was like, "Yeah, that's I was just asking him to kind of go over some of the changes he made or didn't make or whatever, and he goes, "Yeah, red overpower is in there." And I was like, "Okay, Josh, why is red overpower in your Dory list?" And he goes, "Dude, it's been in there since WTR." And I said, "Yeah, Josh, but why is it in there?" And he pauses for a good minute and says, "Well, shit. I never thought about that." And I think that's very important as we approach Rosetta. Is anybody that spent a lot of time on the Runeblade Heroes, and I know all of you are out there, and we've been waiting for this moment, right? We're waiting for our time in the light, if you will. And basically, I got some ideas. I got some ideas that we're gonna take the Runeblades, but I wanted to just lead with that because I think that puts me in a very unique perspective slash situation to give valuable input on the direction in which they go. Right? I could be wrong, as always, but I think I've made a lot of progress on all four of them. So, with that being said, I'm gonna call it no more become the art knight. We'll see. We'll see. Um, so I just want to spend a quick minute, just a couple minutes on Rosetta World Premiere. I had an amazing time at the event. Uh, it was, it's It's an amazing set, obviously, a little bit biased, but it was an amazing event. It was the most I'd been excited for an event, not just because of the cards, but getting to see everybody. I didn't go to Pro Tour Amsterdam, so it was like it was a long time coming, right? See everybody and say hey and all of that stuff. So basically, I wanted to give what I think 2 points of feedback to LSS if they see this, right? And basically, there was 2 things that I noticed over the weekend that maybe could be improved on. Just I like to put these little nuggets in there in case anybody from LSS sees it. Um, it's nothing like horrendously bad, just something to think about, right? Myself included, along with I believe 4 or 5 other instances that I know of in a sealed pool during the battle hardened for me, but it happened in the calling as well. I played against the person who registered my cards round 1, right? And I don't think that should ever happen. Yes, there's a 1 in 300 or 1 in 700, whatever, right? There's low odds. But I think it's lazy programming that leads to that situation. If I'm not mistaken, the current method of starting a tournament is you create a round 1, you drop the pairings, everybody goes builds their deck, and then you repair round 1. All you have to do, LSS and Jim, is create a round 0, right? And then they pair, right? Then you just give a null value for the result that doesn't factor into anything. And then when they go to round 1, the actual round 1, they will see that they have already been paired to the person in round 0. Therefore, they can't pair into them other than in draft, right? When you go from sealed to draft. So that's a very simple solution to because it makes the game very weird when you know exactly what cards they have access to and what they don't. And it leads to a very unnatural situation. I just don't think it's a positive in any way. And there's no reason to leave that to a 1 in 300 chance or whatever the math is. So just a little bit of feedback there. The second piece, something Josh brought up as well. All the top tables had full suites of equipment in the sealed portion of the tournament. And that made me think of a situation where I kind of asked the question of why is standard equipment part of your sealed pool, right? Because I'm okay with like people opening cards or cards that are better, bombs, whatever you want to refer to. But equipment is extra feels bad because it starts in play and stays in play, right? So it's guaranteed value in that aspect. And I think if the goal of sealed is to create a high variance format to let more casual players do better, keep it how it is. If your goal is to make it the most competitive it possibly can be in that form, maybe everybody starts with a standard suite of equipment, right? Like the fact that because of what I opened, because I opened 3 Twinkle Toes, somebody starts at 27 and I start at 23 is like it's like extra feels bad. And it's guaranteed value. They didn't have to play their cards in a right way. Can they utilize their equipment to extract more value? Sure. But they're guaranteed more value from the start. I'm playing catch up before I draw my cards. There's no other mechanic in any card game ever that I'm aware of where you just start the round at a disadvantage other than going first or second, right? And there's no reason to incorporate another one of those. So just a little bit of feedback for the event that I thought of. But other than that, like it was a great event. Had a great time seeing everybody. And let me go ahead. So the way that I want to navigate today is I want to discuss the cards that got spoiled, and then go into the heroes, right? And then start talking about basically where I think each hero is going and we might see a couple deck lists or something. Skill issue. Yeah, it could be a skill issue, opening the wrong stuff. It very well could be. Broaden horizons, absolutely. Give you a deck list. I mean, you might get one. You might get one. Thanks for planning this stream about how Viserai is S tier now, Nathan. Oh man. He might be, he might not. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. Next week will be the tier list. I think I'll have enough information to bring a quality tier list in the following week. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So what I want to do here is I want to start by just going over the cards that were spoiled at the premiere. Just kind of talk about them a little bit. Nothing too deep, just like things to consider, stuff like that. And kind of like, also I want to talk about how all 4 Runeblades may or may not utilize said card. How'd you feel about spoilers being held back for the event in general? I'm not gonna lie. At the beginning, like going into the event, I kind of hated it. But it created this like somebody next to me opened the Earth Legendary. I was like, "Oh man, let me read it." I think it made the world premiere a better event by far. I'm not entirely sure that it made a better Rosetta release, if that makes sense. Sing for oh man, oh man. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the cards. And let's go ahead and start with the Earth chess piece, which obviously can only be utilized in Florian. We're just talking Runeblades here. That's what the stream today is about. So, are you gonna? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a thorn. I'm gonna get a thorn. I'm just gonna wait for it to drop. But yes, I will get a thorn, 100%. So obviously, the chess piece does have Witness Defends if it has the same text as all the other Earth equipment. Create an embodiment of Earth token. So basically, it's very effective against go wide decks, specifically like Ninja, maybe Lightning, where you get the ability to kind of lead with this. But more importantly, the thing that I want to mention about, I'll give everybody a little sneak peek on the Florian list where you have the Earth equipment in the basically the you have the Earth equipment. It's really good to preemptively fill your graveyard, right? When you start playing the Earth Heroes in CC specifically, you'll notice that you'll get your decomposed cards kind of before you're ready, in a sense. And playing the Earth equipment and using them very early gives you a unique opportunity to simply just dump Earth cards into the grave, which allows you to therefore decompose them. So that's why I'm actually a huge favor of all 3 pieces. I'm actually in Florian, I'm running the well-grounded boots as well. I have the helm in the sideboard for any matchup where I feel like I'm on a very tight clock and I just need to get, because all you have to do is just wait till there's 4 and then boom, you can instantly almost get in 3 pieces, 3 Earth cards into the bin for your next decompose. So if you get to 4, boom, your next one automatically online because you can just jam your equipment. And that's kind of the idea. Can Runeblade beat Enigma? I'm going to get into that. Trust me. That's actually a big topic. I'm worried about opening the set will feel bad in the long run due to the amount of reprints. I mean, every set kind of did some reprint. There wasn't that many. Not that I'm aware of. Who's the best Runeblade? We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that right after I go over the cards. I'm going to lead with with who I think the best Runeblade is. So that's what I'm looking at the equipment. Is it good? Is it a good piece of equipment? Yes. I think the most important aspect of this card is it's an earth card. You get into the grave, accelerate that decomposition, boom. Plow under, all-star for earth. Anytime you can trade cards and have the ability to slow your opponent down as well is exactly what you want to be doing. Okay. Earth's embrace is okay. I don't think it's particularly like amazing. It's not bad, but the problem with this is it incentivizes you to possibly make a mistake of decomposing when you should or shouldn't, right? It's like, oh, if I don't decompose or banish something, I'll lose this, right? And that's like, I don't like cards that force me to do things. I like cards that let me do things. I didn't get to say hi to you in Tampa, but hope all is well. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me. I agree with Josh. How do you feel about Unsheathed? We will not be getting into that. I'm sure Josh would love to answer that question. Other than that, that's going to sum up the Earth cards. Pretty self-explanatory. And now we have the Lightning cards for Aurora specifically. Because once again, we're just talking about the applications within the Runeblades, right? Lightning Greaves are amazing. Simple as that. The problem is you have to abandon a little bit of that conventional non-attack attack kind of situation. And this is kind of a build around card. You might build what you think is the perfect Aurora deck. That involves, say, 35 to 40 attacks and then like 10 non-attacks and 10 instants or whatever. Maybe if you run this card, you have to run more instants instead of non-attacks. And then your block value goes down. So I think if you play this, it actually makes the deck way more aggressive because you decrease your opportunity to block. Whereas you have other options like Spellbound Creepers and don't forget Snapdragon Scalers. And then you also have a little bit of defense on the boots. If you really need it, I do not think that this is worth it in CC, unlike the Earth ones, just because if you didn't have to play an instant, I would say sure, whatever. This is a really good card. All you need to know that this card is good is it's a blue 3-block lightning that has the possibility to be go again. This automatically, with just that, not even reading the card, just the fact that it's blue, lightning, and can give itself go again under any condition, makes it an automatic 3 of in any lightning hero. Period. If you're a Cilio, run 3 of these. If you're Aurora, run 3 of these. I promise you, it's the correct call. Okay? Now we got Magnetism. 1 for 5. We're going to talk about how this could be a good card or could not be a good card, and it's all going to involve this top right number right here. It being a 1 cost. Does Aurora want 1 cost? Does she want 0 cost? Does she actually want 2 cost? We're going to get into all that when we go through the Aurora situation, and we're going to circle back to kind of analyze whether this is a good card or not. Because it could be, and it could not be. Gone in a flash. Absolute all-star. In the resolution phase, you play a blink, you get your action point, or you activate your boots and play any instant card to gain go again. Boom, back to your hand. It's an all-star. I'm actually just blown away by the fact that this is a 3-block. This is a 3-block, chat. 0 for 4, 3 that can return it back to its hand. That's insane. Automatic 3 of, guaranteed in Acilio and Aurora. Guaranteed or your money back. Is this guy a preacher on Sundays? No, definitely not. I used to be a meteorologist, but I guess that might be where it comes from a little bit. High voltage. Okay, chat, let me tell you about this card. It's bad. It's just bad. Like I don't know what to tell you. Maybe there's an application in Acilio, but I don't think that Aurora is doing enough damage via Arcane to really make this warranted. And getting one value from your card in Aurora is just not going to cut it. Okay. So in Acilio, it's technically worth 2 because it's a lightning and it pumps the weapon, and you get double amp essentially. Uh, it could be useful in Acilio, but this isn't an Acilio stream. This is a Runeblade stream. So this one, bad for Aurora. Not going to cut it. This card, let me tell you. This card. Being a more mid-rangey minded Runeblade player, this is everything I want in a card. The fact that you can block with 2 cards, play this, return those 2 cards to your hand, which basically makes this a pseudo 5 to 6 block, is insane. Also, the fact that you can play a Entwine Lightning, fuse it, return it. This card also reads, put back the best card on the combat chain to your hand, right? As long as you have a go again situation. You want to play Fry twice, boom, done. You want to play Entwine Lightning twice, boom, done. It's like literally just says copy whatever the best thing is. It's a fantastic card. Fantastic card. Also, shout out to LSS. Very, very well designed. Just amazing. Simple as that. Okay. I think that clears up the element cards. So now we're going to slow down a little bit, right? Because we have to talk about how each of these cards kind of apply in each of the 4 Runeblades. And we're starting off hot, chat. We're starting off hot. Chat, this card. Chat, this card right here. Other than it having one of the best arts in the game. We'll just scratch that, right? This card is absolutely insane. But let me put an asterisk on that. People are going to come and say that basically the opponent has to attack for 7 or 8 for you to get full value. But let me present an idea, chat. What if a card was so fucking good that you didn't need to get full value from it for it to still be good? That is what this card is. What's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of Runeblade players that are going to play this card, and they're going to wait the whole game waiting for an opportunity to extract maximum value. And I'm telling you right now, from my testing so far, the best times to use this is when they attack for 6 and I block for 6 and add this on top of it. But you're thinking to yourself, Nathan, this stream is all about the value. It's all about the value, right? We're all about that. We're all about the value. And that's just wasting 2 value. Well, hell yeah, we are. Because we're getting so much more. Let's just do the math on it real quick. Let's say they CNC for 6 and we're playing Viserai. And we block with 2, 3 blocks because he's got a lot of those nowadays. And one's a non-attack, one's an attack, right? So we're covering it up. But then we're like, you know what? Let's stop that Reveler or whatever's coming next. We block with the helmet on top. So we're blocking 8 on 6, completely wasting the block value on the equipment. Boom. Wasted 2 value. They're going to discard a card. And then you're going to draw a card, which is 2 cards worth of value. That means we still got 6 at least minimum from this card. Now, let me take it even a step further, right? They just bamboozle the shit out of you and play Sigil of Solace or something, right? They play Sigil of... Oh, got you. Guess what? You still draw a card. The draw card is not conditional. It says the attacking hero discards a card and you draw a card. It doesn't say if they do, draw a card. So the absolute worst thing that can happen is you get 1 card's worth of value from this. That's if you overblock and they bamboozle you with an instant, right? Or creepers or whatever happens, right? You still get a card's worth of value, which is worth 3, 3.5, 4, whatever you want to evaluate it on average for your deck. Whenever have we complained about getting 3 to 4 value from our equipment? I'm not complaining. This is just insane. Okay, simple as that. I'm telling you now, if you're playing a Runeblade and you have more than 10 to 15 non-attack actions, you're playing this card. This card's in your deck. You might not play it every matchup, but it better be in there. Chat, that card is so good. That card is so good. Let me catch up in chat real quick. I like the blocking capabilities with Base Purgatory as well. Absolutely. My locals let me play Florian at the Armory, and this card was insane. It's really good. It's really good. Name, art, effect, probably one of my favorite cards. Absolutely. It's going to be more of a Scowling Fleshbag type hit, best moment rather than best value. Yep, great again. Josh hates this card. It's just Dawnblade hate. They have to play around it. People may LGS call it Scowling at Home. I think it's better. I'm gonna say it. Everybody else is gonna be scared to say it, but I'll say it. It's better. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next card. We can't talk about such an amazing card for forever. Snuff Out. Okay, so such a simple card. 1 for 5, 3 block. Very standard stat line. We're talking bingo, critical strike. We're talking all those 1 for 5s, you know, sensor. When this hits a hero, you may destroy an aura you control. If you do, they discard a card. Okay. Now, how do we analyze this? Okay. Well, automatically, the first thing we go to is like, this is okay. It's a 1 cost, though. So we have to say, bad in Vynnset, right? Because Vynnset should not want to like pay for this, right? Kind of like defeats the whole purpose of playing Vynnset. So not gonna work there. Aurora it's gonna be very hard for Aurora to always have an aura that she can sack for the effect. And sacking Embodiment of Lightning might be a little too much because you're paying almost an entire card to create it. So are you really making them discard? Is kind of how you should approach that. So it's okay in Aurora, but not, you know, it's not automatically making the list. So what about Florian? Florian typically does not lead his attack with him. And if he does, he typically builds the rune chants and then sends them, right? He doesn't have anything afterwards with the exception of Malefic, right? So with that being said, I think this is a Viserai card. I think it's simply a Viserai card. It is a 1 less attack, hit the high note. 6 spoiler video, by the way. It's a 1 less attack, hit the high note with a really good on hit. And also Viserai is always going to have the aura in the back to sack for the on hit, right? Because you're going to play the non-attack to give it go again. Then you're going to play Snuff Out and boom, you create a rune chant in the back. And you can always destroy that one There's also some cool stuff you can do with arcane cussing and stuff like that. But like that's the most simple explanation in application, right? This card is everything Runeblade could ever want. More go again in a blue. Oh, and they just happen to make it block 3. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. Vynnset, if you're not on a red line build, it's good, right? If you need to bake in the go again at low opportunity cost, it's good. Viserai, it's an all-star. If you were ever on the boat of running like lead the charge or anything like that, swap it out, throw this in, you'll be happy. Got a little bit of evasion baked in it, right? And if you've played or created an aura this turn, those two heroes are the easiest to just automatically turn that on, right? Whereas Florian and Aurora, you kind of have to work. You got to work for it, right? It's not automatic. It doesn't feel like a Mavrian, like it should. Okay. So this card's going to get a big vote for Viserai. Auto include in Viserai. It's going to be maybe good in Vynnset if you're off the red line version. And then it's going to be kind of mid in Aurora and Florian specifically. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite cards in the set. I know I have like so many of them, but bear with me. Succumb to Temptation. This card. I haven't heard anybody talking about this card. I don't think they understand like how good it is. Rattlebones is one of the most busted cards in Viserai. But it's balanced because it blocks 2. This card? Viserai very quickly between Succumb and Snuff Out is going to be, hear me out, one of the most disruptive tempo decks in the game of Flesh and Blood. And that is because there's multiple avenues to have on hits that are not just make rune chants, right? You're going to be actively like look in their hand, choose a card, they discard it. I mean, new step aside, okay? New step aside. Holy cow. This card and LSS, you didn't have to make it a yellow. You didn't have to make it a yellow. LSS, you didn't have to make it block 3. But I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. This card is an absolute all-star. Absolute bomb in Vynnset. Let me explain why. Everybody knows Vynnset can do unpreventable damage, right? And with that being said, if I produce unpreventable damage and get my damage through, and I'm throwing, say, a widespread annihilation, or a better example, whatever, one of the widespreads that produces an on-hit effect. What incentive do you have? Ask yourself this question. What incentive do you have to block the physical damage if you've already taken Arcane? The answer is 0, chat. And that's where this card comes in. You've already dealt the Arcane. Boom, instant speed, action point, Mauve, blocks 3, yellow. And they're incentivized not to cover up the physical damage. Which means you play this in reaction. Boom, you go in their hand, you discard, you disrupt, you do what you got to do. You take Azalea's only arrow. You take her Codex. Whatever it is. And did I mention, chat, that it's a yellow and it blocks 3? This is a bomb. This is a. Have you ever been in that moment with Viserai where you didn't quite want to commit creepers, but like you needed the action point, but you weren't quite ready? This card is going to smooth that out. It's going to smooth that out. Either you're going to use your creepers when you don't want to, and you have this to back you up when you need it again, or vice versa. Absolute all-star of a card. And the art. Art. Viserai, it's a great card, although, time out. If you think about Viserai's typical play pattern, he usually doesn't send Arcane with the first attack. I'm going to leave you with that nugget, right? There's something that you need to think about. Right? Mauve hit the high note, swing sword. Where's the rune chant coming from? And is the rune chant coming in time to let the on-hit attack when you play this in reactions? Typically, the answer is no. But there's some deck building you can do to kind of solve that. I'll give you a little hint there. Okay. Now, when I saw this card, I loved it. I still love it. It's a very unique card, something that Runeblade really didn't have access to. And I just think that this card is one of those kind of do-it-all. But at the same time, you only want to throw this into the tempo-oriented Runeblade decks. Vynnset, right? Being able to just make that extra rune chant token that you need for a rune gate execution. But like this in Viserai gets really shaky, right? Because you only create the rune chant if you prevent the damage, right? It's just like the what is it? The little 2 preventions and heavy hitters that we used to play with. Just like that, but it's a block 4 as well. So absolutely amazing card. Just be aware that it's not a always worth value card, because if they block out and you draw this, it's just a red, right? Because you can get it out of your hand by discarding it. That's not conditional. However, you're not going to make a rune chant, so you just IP'd yourself, right? Let me get caught up. Let me get caught up in chat. Somebody asked, how does it compare to Mask of Reoccurring Nightmares? I'm assuming you were talking about the helmet. It's way better than Mask. Not even close. Also a great card versus Rangers. Yep, absolutely. Viserai eating good. He is. Nathan getting all the negative on-hit effects for Runeblade. Josh sad waiting for Warrior to get those one day. Oh, man. Nathan, you are slacking. Obviously need a chart. I tell you what. Tier list next week. Okay. So, let's scroll down. I don't know if there was any that we missed on release. We didn't technically know Consuming was in the set or Meet and Greet until much later, but it wasn't like a brand new spoil or anything like that. So if I'm not mistaken, that concludes all the Runeblade cards. Okay. Now, let's talk about some Runeblades. Okay. I've been asked probably at least 30 to 50 times in the past week what the best Runeblade is. Okay. I've been asked so many times about what the best Runeblade is. And I had to think about it for a long time. And I think I finally got an answer. on who I think the best Runeblade is. Out of all four, you got Aurora, Florian, Viserai, the OG, and of course Vinny. But where things currently stand, if you had to ask me who the best Runeblade is, knowing what I know right now, I think it's time to ball chat. I think the best Runeblade is Vynnset right now. I know that probably shocks a lot of people. A lot of people. But I think that Vinny's got it. I think she does. I was in the Discord and now like Nick was asking me like straight up like what does Vinny need to like go the distance? And I was like, she's not far, but like she needs 3, maybe 4 cards to like really just push her over. And the leaks started coming. I said, Nick, we got him. And I think there's a very high probability that Vynnset is the best Runeblade in the game. And here's the crazy part. The other ones aren't bad. They're all pretty good. So I've been spending most of my time trying to work out Vynnset. Because there's a couple problems you have to solve, right? You still got the fatigue thing that you have to work out. There's the aspect with the, people not interacting with you. You getting before when Vynnset, the biggest problem you would have is like your rune chant generation, right? You would have all these go again cards. You have a bunch of rune gate, but you wouldn't have it was very hard to build these situations to throw it all out, right? You had to put a lot of pieces together, draw the right things and whatnot. I'm telling you right now, chat, my biggest problem with my Vynnset deck is I can't get more cards in the banish zone. That's the problem I'm having. Is I don't have enough cards to play. That's how smooth it's gotten. And if that's the case, it's time, chat. It's time for Vinny. I'm telling you. Now, with that being said, if there's any Viserai fans in the chat, he's very close. I think he's very, very close. But for me personally, what I think separates the two is Viserai's exposure to Warmongers, along with Vinny's better matchup into Enigma. The combination of those two things, I really believe that she's the best Runeblade in the game right now. So with that being said, let me go ahead. I'm going to start a poll on I'm gonna start a poll on who we want to talk about first. Florian, and then okay. So go ahead and vote in the poll that's about to come up on which Runeblade you want to talk about first, and I would love to oblige. Okay, I threw up the poll. Let me know who you want to talk about first, as far as going in, which direction, the whatever's gonna, we're gonna go. The goal today is we're gonna go through all the rune blades and kind of, I'm gonna give you my intentions on which direction I think. Start a poll on over under 10 seconds before, yeah. About that. That was the first time I've actually ever done a poll. All right, so everybody wants to know about Vinny and Florian. Okay. I'm gonna let it go for a couple seconds while I talk. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through all 4 rune blades. And like I said, my main thing that I want to kind of give everybody for this stream is things that I've tried, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, things that have, and try and steer you into the direction that I'm headed, or give you the option to. You may completely disagree and go a different direction, and that's perfectly fine. But also, I think there's a lot of things that people are doing that just kind of may or may not make sense. And it kind of coincides with that initial thing that I opened with, where Runeblades have never had like this influx of Runeblade cards, right? And so I think a lot of Runeblade players are going to latch on to the old way of doing business and not really adapt, right? And I think that my perspective might be able to kind of like open it up a little bit. All right. It seems like everybody's interested in Vinny. So what we'll do is we will do Vinny, Florian, Aurora, and then Vis in that order. And yeah, so let's just take it from the top. We're going to talk about Vynnset first. Okay. So what I just mentioned was basically, let me check chat real quick before I get started. I'm just going to go ahead and end the poll. No sweat. Vynnset believers. I tell you what, it is time. It is time. Is the wizard meta here? I don't think so. I'm almost done with my Vinny deck, but waiting to see how Rosetta will shake her up. She is shook. They got to make a rainbow foil of Vynnset at some point. Well, they got the cold foil in the judge packs, so that's pretty cool. Was there not a like armory or Artian skirmish or something that gave rainbow foil Vinnies? If I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Why do I see no L O'Brien? This is just for CC. We're just talking CC. Just talking CC. Briar's LL card is absolutely insane. I need to go back and like verify if there's a combination that can go alongside Blossoming Spellblade. I don't know if there's like loop potential or not with that. I need to go back and like read and understand how everything's working, but maybe there's a loop there. Or you can create a loop out of it. And yeah. So let's go and talk about Vinny. Okay. So there's 2 current trains of thought with Vinny, right? That's basically your red line list and your non-red line list. Me personally, I think the red line list is the way to go. I think that it is the superior version of the list. I've always held the belief that the whole point of RuneGate is so you do not have to pitch. If you're pitching with Vynnset, unless you use every single resource efficiently, which is very difficult to do, you're basically just, you're literally just waiting. Or anytime you run a blue card, you're diluting the power of your deck. And if you don't use the resources efficiently, you're literally just nerfing your deck. So I like to believe that I would just rather not pitch and just play a bunch of reds. And especially in a format where we don't get punished by ice. Obviously, when ice moves into the format, we have to kind of, maybe adjust things. But right now, based off of what I know and what I see, I think Redline is the way to go. Okay. So obviously, we have cards like, let's talk about, let me go back to my screen and we can talk about some of the new cards and how they can kind of be utilized. Okay. So obviously the headpiece, that's pretty straightforward, right? Really strong card. You get a pseudo filter, but it's not like the Crown of Providence filter. Way better than Balance of Justice. Fuck that card. Um, she will definitely be running Succumb 100%. And this card is optional. Me personally, I enjoy this card. I like to play my Vinny where I have a little mid-ranging tempo capability, where I don't have to basically go full in. But Succumb, auto include, Face Purgatory, auto include, Haunting. I'm high on it. It is currently in my list, but you do not. I wouldn't shame somebody for not having it. I don't think it's like super necessary. And I do not have these two cards because I'm currently on a Redline version. I don't think the Redline version needs this card. Okay. Now, let's talk about this card specifically. Let's break it down. Yes, I think that the blue is good if you're not on the Redline list. Okay, if you're on Vinny with 9 to 12 blues, play this card. But if you're on the Redline list, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think you need it. Malefic Incantation. Okay, so we have to think about what this actually does, right? So obviously, the net result of it is basically you make a rune chant token after your first attack, right? Which kind of smooths over the needing certain, you can have whatever for your widespread, and if you have a Malefic on board, you can block out a turn, banish a eulogy, and basically, play out your widespread with the go again source, and then boom, eulogy, because you made one after it resolved. If it's not a Deathly Will, because of course Deathly Will always gave you that line. But this also gives you the ability to go into a 3 after a Deathly Will. So there's really two main applications of this card, in the fact that you can simply go into a higher rune gate, or it allows you to get a eulogy for free, which is really good. And also, what kind of overlooked, the best aspect of this card specifically, is the fact that it stays on board and you get to manage, and it's not timed. It's not like a Teklo core where you play it on the board and it stays on the board, but then like you're timed. Like whether ready or not, you're using those two resources, right? This just chills, right? It is just chilling, bro. So you get to play these and you're not in a hurry to use them. You can let them sit there. You obviously don't want to end the game with a couple counters on it, right? Because that'd be inefficient and wasteful. But at the end of the day, you're on your schedule. You get to play the game on your terms. That's everything you want in a card. Oh, and did I forget to mention, it's a 0 cost. It literally costs 0. It's everything you want. Nathan, ignore Redline. That was pure coincidence. It's just a pitchless deck. But super good card. Absolutely amazing card. Me personally, I love it in Vynnset. These we're not trying to pitch. This one is way too situational because you're running almost a 50-50 split on attacks and non-attacks. So it's way too risky to kind of risk it. And you can't really pitch stack with Vynnset. This isn't any good. This isn't any good. You're just trying to play rune gates. This card is actually pretty decent. It's not my kind of card, right? It's one of those where it's not in my personal list, but it makes sense on why it would be, right? Because Vinny, this always has go again, unless it's played from Arsenal, right? If it's ever played from hand, it means that you banished another card, made a rune chant, boom, go again, right? So it always has go again. The problem is, I think the way the deck construction is going to want to go is I'm not sure. To me, this feels like Rabble, but it blocks 3. Uh, you are trading a little bit on the attack, but it blocking 3 could mean the difference, right? Red only matters if you're playing Rabble, Pumpkin, Lanterns. I don't like Lanterns. I do like Rabble. I agree, 100%. And I do like Pumpkins for a certain situation. So I do agree with the fact that red only matters in those situations, 100%. But at the same time, you have to get equal power level out of your blues than a red, which is very difficult in the game of Flesh and Blood, right? So if I'm going to be playing a card, I want it to be a red card if I don't have the intentions to pitch. Me personally. Now, Arcane Cussing. We're going to spend a second on this one because we really need to understand. I thought there was an interaction with this card, that there is not actually an interaction with this card. And my original belief was that Blood Debt would trigger this. So it was basically read the runes with going again that cost 1. However, I do not believe that's how it works, because losing life is not dealing or being dealt damage. It's classified as something else. Now, obviously, I'm not even entirely sure. Well, yeah, if you use Vynnset's ability, you would deal damage to your opponent, but the self-inflicted damage, that's irrelevant because one happens for the other. But obviously, her hero ability is going to turn this into a guarantee. That's not really a concern. The problem here is it costs 1. So I'm really on the fence with this card. I do like it, but if you think about the hand texture, asked at Tampa, it's loss of life. Yeah, so loss of life is not, yeah, loss of life is not dealing or dealt damage. Yeah, I thought Blood Debt would do it, but it doesn't. It doesn't work. But anyway, what this does allow you to do is after you trigger Vynnset, you make rune chants in the back, which is going to allow you to chain to it replaces Deathly Well. It says, I'm going to place this on the table, and then I'm going to turn any widespread card into a Deathly Well, which has its value, right? The problem is, once again, you have to look at the hand texture that would require you to take full advantage of this card. You would need 2 rune gates in the banish zone. You would need this on. I'm never playing this card without guaranteeing it, right? Because letting it sit on board is super risky. Not something I would want to do in Vynnset, because then you're like pressured into like giving your whole hand. It's not where you want to be. But you have to have a go again source, this card, a pitch card, or your tunic counter, and you need 2 rune gate cards in banish zone, or a way to put an additional one in. So this card is great. It's a great card, and does have synergy in Vynnset. Just understand that it does introduce a layer of inconsistency, if you will. Some people will like it, because it's very explosive, but at the same time, if you find yourself playing Vinny games and you kind of like, you're not afraid to just like block out and get 2 cards in banish zone, or you're very aggressive with your widespreads, and you're banishing out of your arsenal and stuff like that. If you find yourself making those play patterns, I'd recommend you to try this card. I think it'll be a smooth transition, right? But me currently, I'm fighting with it. Like, sometimes I absolutely love it, and sometimes it's the worst card on the planet. So, Vin's ability causes loss of life first. Yep. The card is not as good as it looks at first. Yeah. Yeah. I agree, Shamir. But even if you have loss of life, your rune chant is dealing damage. So Vynnset's ability always triggers this. Just the Blood Debt does not. Okay. Let's do Deadwood Dirge. This is simply undisputed an auto 3 of in any Vinny list. I don't care what you're playing. I don't care if you're on red line, yellow line, blue line. Doesn't matter. This card needs to be in your deck, especially in red. Really only in red. Because what it's going to do is it makes any Vynnset player is going to know there's a lot of situations where you get a very disruptive on hit, you need to block, and you don't have enough rune chance to actively play the card you want to banish. This just fixes it. Easy. Deathly Well, always ready. Always ready. Dirt and the art. LSS, can we get this on a play map? That art is insane. All this Runeblade art. The purples, the blues. Something about it, chat. Something about it. Anyway, Vinny, throw it in. Easy. Easy. This one, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I understand what it does. It's a blue. It blocks 2, and you have to play it, right? And the part that troubles me with this card and Vinny specifically is you don't know if you're going to need that extra rune chain on next turn. You really don't have any clue. And if I'm playing this card, that's one less shadow non-attack action that I'm playing, which means I can't activate her hero ability as much, which means I'm not forcing through on hits. It's just not a card I'm interested in. If I'm being 100% honest. I agree with Shamir. Dirge is the primary reason why Vynnset's good right now. It just smoothed over so many things. It just, man. So good. So good. Destroy a Blood Rot Pox token, create 3 rune chance. That's good too. That's good too. That interaction specifically is why it's not going to make Runeblade super favorite into Azalea, but there's going to be moments where you just get accidental free value, and we take those. We 100% take those. So don't forget about that. So that's pretty much it for Vinny. So those inclusions, like I said, I don't think anything really. We're obviously going to put in Succumb. We're going to put in the helmet. I'm going to pass on these. I personally like Haunting. It's in mine. And then I personally play Red Malefic, Red Dirge, and I'm battling with Cussing. Currently, I'm off, and I'm also off of Swarm, but I don't hate it. Once again, I don't hate it. It's just not what I'm trying to do with the deck. And yeah, so Dirge, Malefic, and the 2 M's are just all stars in the legendary. Those are the main upgrades for Vinny that's really going to push her over the edge, because it just smooths everything out. I'm telling you. Oh my God. There's going to be somebody that picks up Vinny for the first time and never understands the struggle of not being able to play your cards. It's like that feeling where you draw the all red hand, but it happens like once every 4 turns. And it's not because you don't have the cards, it's because you can't make enough rune chance. And yeah, it's too good. It's too good. Dirge is also a turn extender. It's double rune gate easier. Of course it can be used that way. Of course, you can Dirge on your defending aura if you creepers it in. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just a fan of the red one. Me personally. I like the red Dirge. That's about it. But those are the cards to look at. Okay? So I don't have a Vinny list for you yet because it's not ready. Okay? I haven't worked everything out, and I don't like to produce anything that I'm not like 100% on. I'm still working out the theory, the math, stuff like that. Better than blue. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like I love the Majestic. I think this is great. It helps you get the widespread on hits. Um, the problem is I found myself to where you could swap mauve 100%. Like if you're on blue mauve, go ahead and swap it. The problem is if you're on a red line list and you're on red mauve, I don't know about swapping this for red mauve because you're giving up an on hit of 3 or overpower to a, let's be honest, the way that I look at that situation is only some of your RuneGate cards have on hit effects, right? Eulogy doesn't matter. It's only coming in for 4 most of the time. And so you have widespread destruction, annihilation, and the 2 cost. The 2 cost. I forget. And forcing those on hit. What percentage of the time are you forcing the on hits through the Vynnset ability anyway that you don't need the overpower? So you have to subtract that from it before you even start getting value. And it's only on 9 cards, really. So I understand. It's a good. It's like if blue mauve is in your list, replace it immediately with this. 100%. It blocks better. It's just better in every way. But if you're on red mauve, pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not 100% sold. Helps you close games out with overpower. I do agree. But I don't think we're going to be in a meta where that's really going to be necessary. I really don't. Question: if Viserai had the tool it needed to be on top, what could that card be, and why would be the incentive to play Vis versus Vynnset? I think anything that, if he would get something like the Ranger arm piece that allowed him to convert good value, if he got warmongered, is where you want to be with Viserai. So like maybe one more Become the Art Knight, right? Because Become the Art Knight's a real good way to 2-step warmongers. You know, you play it, you discard an attack, you go read the runes, or whatever it may be, another aura. And it's like you got something from that turn. Was it the best turn? Of course not. But like you got something. And so that's kind of what I'd be looking for in Viserai. Because currently, if Viserai becomes top meta, like on the top, then Warmongers is going to start showing up. Decks are going to start forcing a way to play that card. Obviously, of course, some decks play it better than others. That's a no-brainer. But you also have Azalea that I think will be very prominent in the meta, and which is also suffering from the inclusion of Warmongers into people's list, right? So you have a lot of things pointing toward Warmongers being a great card in the meta. And I'm going down the avenue of I just like playing the hero that gets hit a little worse or a little less from it specifically. But if he got something relatively close to like what Azalea got to 2-step it, then sure. 3 Shadow Puppetry, 3 Red Mauve, 3 are the core go again enablers for my list. I agree with that. I think that's solid. You left out Succumb, but sure. How many blues would you play in Redline? 3. 3, or if you're dead set on Dominion, you could run that. So I'm on 3 Annihilations, but if you wanted to go up to 6 for this, then sure. Okay. So that's kind of everything I wanted to cover on, and I would love to do some games today. The problem is I think Talishar has not incorporated the meld cards. So I don't want to play a bunch of card or a bunch of games where the opponent can't resolve their cards right, and then the stream's gonna pause because it's not resolving and they don't know. We'll save that for a later day. I just wanted to have a discussion with all of chat and kind of go over everything. And then also, if you have any questions about any of them, throw them in chat now. Some of the stuff I'll go ahead and answer. Some of it I will um, go ahead or I might delay it till we talk about that Runeblade specifically. So we kind of covered everything that I really wanted to cover about Vinny and why I think that her play patterns have kind of smoothed out. And I really think that her ability to be hyper aggressive, have a good average block value, and have some of the best armor in the game, and having good throughput by not having to pitch and play a bunch of reds is a good recipe to have. So basically force Florian on pre-release. Vinny's time to shine for sure. Absolutely. Compared with Shrill, Hit the High Note looks great. Yes, Hit the High Note is just made for Nebula Blade. Simple as that. If you're on Nebula Blade, you'll run Hit the High Note. If you're on Reaping Blade, you'll stick with Shrill. I think Viserai list should run both. In person. I'll explain that a little bit later. But the next one on the poll was to talk about Florian. And for Florian, I do have a deck list for you. I'm going to show you a deck list for Florian. I think it's one that I feel good enough, like it's done enough to like actively show it. And that way I'm not just, trying to get clickbait or whatever people want to say. I feel like it's doing what he's trying to do. So let's go ahead and talk about Florian. Let's go through all these cards just like we did with Vynnset and kind of talk about, this is good, this is bad, this is average. We're gonna go through it. This, of course, auto include, right? Unless you're on a build where you really have to depend on that tunic counter. This is just too good, right? 3 block on the chest. It's an earth card. Get that early decompose. It does it all, right? How strong do you think Aurora is? I see potential of just good turn over turn aggro, but don't know if it gets there. I think she does one thing very, very, very well. However, when disruption comes knocking, I don't know. Might be a little rough. But I'll talk about her next. She's the third one. So right now we're going to talk about Florian. So this, I think it's an auto include, easy peasy. Okay. Also, I love the boots. I don't think that Florian, because they banned Toma Findale, I was going to play Spellbound Creepers, Toma Findale, block with an attack action, flip it out of Arsenal with Creepers, like just run one tome, and like that's what Creepers is for. I'm not trying to revel nobody. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just trying to block with one attack action, pitch a card, Tome of Findale from Arsenal, draw, gain some life, and kind of keep my life total high. That was my full intentions in the leg spot for Florian before it got banned. So that's obviously not an option anymore. So I love the well-grounded. Once again, it's pseudo spell void. It's good at covering up breakpoints if you need to do that. But most importantly, at the bottom, it's an earth card. Earth cards decompose. That's what we're trying to do. This card's literally Codex. I don't know what else you need to hear. If this is not in your Florian deck, it's obviously a cost restriction. I don't know what else to say. Put 3 of them in. Simple as that. Also, don't sleep on the helm. Obviously, it's not as good as Face Purgatory. But with that being said, I do have the helm in my sideboard. There's some matchups where the match is so fast that Florian is all about making the runway longer so that well, I take that back. There's two approaches you can take with Florian. You can either build your deck to basically just hyper decompose as quickly as possible, right? But then you're running like a bunch of shitty earth cards, right? Because let's face it, they're not all good. I mean, let's face it, Autumn's Touch prerequisite to be in any earth deck was it blocks 3, right? That's what we're working with. So if you're trying to hyper decompose, that's one way to create a longer timeline for your hero building. However, I take a different approach. I like to prolong the game, not emphasize so hard on decomposition, but leverage the equipment to create that scenario. And then that way, because that's always on board. It's not, oh, I got unlucky, drew this, whatever. I'm going to play hyper defensive and then use my equipment to fill the grave to then turn the hero ability on. And we're going to talk about a combo. Yes, chat. We're going to talk about a Florian combo. I haven't seen it anywhere. I might not be the first one to come up with it. I haven't seen it though. It's pretty low hanging fruit. I thought it was. I got on it pretty quick, but we'll see. We'll see. We're going to talk about the good old OTK combo. Plow Under, absolutely phenomenal. I think this is an auto include just like Fell in the Crown. One thing that a lot of Florian players are going to make the mistake of is throwing cards in like Cadaverous Tilling. I know what you're thinking, chat. You're like, what? He's not running the 2 for 8 that decomposes? Here's the thing. I don't want to spend anytime I spend 2 cards to deal damage to decompose, that's 3 to 4 more damage I took, which decreases the amount of times I get to activate my hero ability. But you're going to say, Nathan, how is this card any different? It just does less damage. And you would be right. But because I'm using 2 cards here, I'm taking a card away from there, which is less damage that I need to block on the next turn, which allows me to execute another decompose without taking as much damage. So playing this card is way different than playing Cadaverous Contraband. Okay. I do not like the tree. Period. I don't think you should run it. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't like it. Earth's Embrace, not good enough. Seeds of Tomorrow, I think it's a sideboard type of card. You don't want to main deck the no block that like forces you into a line of play. But against Wizards, primo. Earth Form, if you're on a very high non-attack count, it could be good. The problem is it's a 2 block. So I'm kind of washy on this one. Not 100% sure. Also, after the conclusion of the stream, I'm going to drop the Florian deck in the TheCardGuyz Discord. If you're not in there, it should be in the link should be in the description. Go ahead and join the Discord, and I will drop it in the channel that is labeled live stream decks or something along those lines. I'll drop the Florian deck in there at the conclusion of the stream. If you want to see the combo, just stick around for 5 more minutes, and you'll see it. Summer's Fall is a good way to actually combat Enigma. I still think that the matchup is an auto lose, but at least you get to feel like you're doing something when you put their Mirror God to the bottom of their deck and you still lose with them at 40 life. But at least you feel like you're doing something. These auto includes, right? Absolutely. This is literally, I'm a huge fan of the red and yellows. Anytime you can decompose on your opponent's turn, means you're not taking damage to do it. That's the whole point. That's what you're trying to accomplish. It's what you're actively trying to accomplish. Earth's Embrace, Shamir specifically. The problem I have with this card is it forces me into like what if I didn't want to take damage to execute a decompose? What if I came to the conclusion that that was not an accurate play? If this is on board, I'm getting talked into it, right? Because, oh, I got to maintain this or I'm losing value, right? And so it changes the proposition. the fact that it's blue, it's like on the table, but just doesn't do it for me. Doesn't do it for me. Sigil not good enough. It's conditional when it executes. You don't know. Autumn's Touch. Autumn's Touch. I know what you're thinking, chat. Throw 3 of them in. Throw 6 of them in. Throw 9 of them in. Chat, this card at one time, it was banned. That's how good 3 Earth blocks are. I don't have a single one in my Florian deck. Not a single one. I don't need them. Don't need them. Cadaver's Tilling, we already mentioned why I'm not too terribly high on this card. Because, yes, it's good value. Yes, it's decomposed. I don't think it's a terrible card. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on Tilling. I'm not entirely sure that trading damage in the early game is what you want to be doing to accomplish your decompose. I think there's just better ways to do it. I'm not saying this card's bad. I think there's just better cards. Put it that way. Fruits. Fruits, chat. Fruits. This card's good. If the opponent ever lets up, has an off turn, it's a great way to accelerate the graveyard feel, all of those things. Off your rocker, big dog. Are you referring to Tilling, I guess? Automatic graveyard feel. Also, there is synergy with Thistlebloom. Obviously, for every life gain. Yeah, the blue one auto include 100%. Red one, not me personally. I'm not a huge fan of the red one. I think blue's enough. I don't think you want to be too greedy. It's 2 block. Is what it is. Red Harvest Season. Do me a favor. Put 3 of these bitches in your deck. Period. No questions. Just do it. Take 3 copies of the red one. Put them in your deck. No questions asked. Now, it's good. Correlation with Thistlebloom. The way I like to play the Florian deck is whichever one I see first, either the Thistlebloom or the Harvest Season. I like to put one of those are my favorite arsenal targets. And I'll just wait for the other one. Right? I'll just wait for the other one. Simple. If you're on a Tunic build, just play this out. Life gain. Easy. Strong yield. People are going to hate it that I'm about to say this, but I don't think this card's that good. Actually, I do like your philosophy behind not having to take damage in order to decompose. That's the idea. You want to lengthen that runway. We're not racing to get to 10 lives so we can use our hero ability, right? We're patiently waiting to get to 30 life. Start using our hero ability. Strong yield fits a perfect curve with Runeblade. I know this. I know you're thinking, that's amazing, right? Strong yield into Runeblade. It's broken, right? But once again, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to kill them by playing a 1-card 3. Or even, let's give you the benefit of the doubt and say Runeblade hits every time, right? Whatever. That's not our win con. That's not my win con anyway. You can do whatever the hell you want, but my Florian deck is an OTK deck. That's the way I've built it. What on this card says OTK? I tell you, it says anti-OTK, that 2 block at the bottom. I don't like this card. It doesn't decompose. It's a 2 block. But yes, you're right. I skipped it. My fault. Not a fan. Not a fan. Fertile Ground. I'm kind of iffy on this one, chat. I like it. But man, it feels bad sometimes because it forces me into certain situations. But anytime you play with Thistlebloom, mm, feels good. Feels real good. But this is like in that situation with Arcane Cussing and Vynnset, where like I keep going on and off with it. Currently, I'm off, but maybe I can see myself getting back. Like it's close. It's close. It's not a bomb. It's not, it's not stealing any games, but it's a solid card. But what I found was I was taking on hits because I drew it, and because the arsenal is typically very synergistic. I found myself not being able to move it into arsenal, so therefore it was putting me in some bad spots. So it does have applications, and I will say the more aggressive your Florian deck is, the better this card is. I will give you that. So just keep that in mind. Sigil of Earth, not good enough. Plain and simple. Okay? As far as the Runeblade cards, I don't think he's, other than, of course, let's not forget about this one. We're 100% going to be playing Face Purgatory, right? But also, like I said, I'm about to show the list. I'm about to show the list in like 2 seconds. The only other ones that I'm personally running out of the new set is going to be Haunting, because it blocks, really good. Malefic, because it can stay on board and you can wait to trigger it after. After your hero ability is actually turned on. Hocus Pocus was one that was close. I just don't think it's good enough. Simple as that. Arcane Cussing, no go. And Dirge, no go. That's it. So here's the Florian list. Chat. It is a scepter turtle-ish build, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, the whole premise of the deck is I want to keep my life total as high as possible by blocking, doing whatever I can to keep that life total as high as absolutely possible. To then increase the runway to then execute my hero ability as much as possible. So this is what our main deck is looking like. We have the defensive composition set. I like the blue ones. I didn't go that far, but like if Plow Under was never spoiled, it would be a blue Carapace. 100%. 100%. But here it is, chat. This is the combo. This is the combo that I mentioned earlier. Mordred Tide into Germinate. Okay? Some of you probably already thought of it, but some of you would be like, how did I not think of that, right? Each time you create a rune chain, it's a separate instance, right? So literally, it's just your hero ability a second time. Right? So that's all we're attempting to do. Is we are keeping our life total high, and we are trying to Mordred Tide into a Germinate. Now I can see the chat going wild. You have Truce in your deck? You have Truce? Yes, chat. My Florian deck is running Truce. And I'll explain why. And I know right now you think I'm an idiot, because 99% of the time that is an awful card. But I'm going to explain to you one situation where this is an absolute bomb. Absolute bomb. Okay? Shout out to Josh for analyzing the card correctly. I jumped to the conclusion that it sucked as well, because most of the time it does. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so I just want to kind of walk through some of the cards. If you're interested in the deck list, after the conclusion of the stream, it will be posted in the Discord, the TheCardGuyz Discord channel. Okay, I'll post it there for everybody to copy, do whatever they want with. So why is Amplify the Arc Knight in there? Well, once again, we're trying to mid-range down for the combo, And this is a great way to do it. Anytime you can discharge your rune chance with one card, this is what we want to be doing. Not pitching. We don't want to pitch cards. Who wants... I can either block 3 to 4 more damage and yeet this shit at you, or I can do 2 more damage but spend 2 cards. It's a bad fucking deal. Tree plus Scepter would have been pretty good or not. The problem with Tree is, think about it. My whole game plan is to increase my runway. Tree is a 2-card investment. To play that Tree, I'm taking 7 damage. I'm not interested in taking damage. And I don't need it to kill you. Right? If you think about it, Mordred Tide Germinate is a 24 value swing on 5 cards. Okay? And it both includes life total going up and down. That's not even including Ninth Blade. Okay? So the combination of these 2 cards, right? We're going to play Mordred Tide. We're going to dump a bunch of Germinate, or a bunch of blues into Germinate. X will equal what? We'll dump 3 blues into it. That's 9. You take Tunic Counter if you have it. That can get you up to 10 resources. X equals 5. You make 6 because it starts at 1. And you gain 6 life. So 6 plus 6 from Florian plus 6 from Mordred Tide means you make 18 rune chance and gain 6 life. Okay? So that's what we're trying to do. I already talked about felling, how it's so good. Harvest season into Scepter is really good, right? Make sure you don't swing Scepter. I'm going to be 100% honest with you, chat. The main reason that I'm running Scepter is for the shield. Oh man. The main reason I'm doing that is for the shield. So somebody asked, isn't your blue count low? And I am currently on 12 blues. And that's a fantastic point. And that's why we pitch stack. We're extending this game so long with block cards, D-reacts, life gain, more D-reacts. We're doing all of these things so we can extend the game out and get that pitch stack going. But we also do have a lot of yellows as well, right? So don't sleep on that entirely. But you are right. And also, 9 times out of 10, are they gonna block this Felling the Crown? Are they gonna block the Plow Under? 9 times out of 10, they're not. Are they gonna block the Amp? Are they gonna block the Ninth Blade? Probably not. So you usually don't have to build up to like 40 rune chance. You usually just have to get them into a position where they're blocking, and then you pretty much get them, right? Run them out of threats, whatever the case may be. Is Dirge not good enough just because it's a 2-block? No, it's because it doesn't do what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to live a long time and combo. I want to combo with as much life as actually possible. Is this rounds on me necessary? It is not. Currently, the way that I'm doing it is anytime Warmongers comes in, it's just taking out this rounds. Because typically when Warmongers is good, this rounds on me is not good. But it's not necessary. Warmongers, pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. Let's keep explaining the cards. I've already explained Malefic. It stays on the board. You have so little attack actions that you actually get your hero ability online and then start triggering it, which is really good. Reduce, self-explanatory. Sigil, Sink Blow, Ninth Blade. That's the juice, the absolute juice. Plow Under, we already talked about. Fruits, Germinate. This round's on me. Let's talk about the actual controversial card. Okay. Why the hell do I have Truce in my Florian deck, just for everybody at home, let me read the card for you. Blue 3-block, non-attack action. Benefits from embodiment. That's cool. Cost 2. Ugh. That sucks. When this enters the arena, choose an opponent. At the beginning of their end phase, destroy this. And if destroy this and you each gain 3 life. Okay? When you or a card you control is the target of an attack, destroy this and draw a card. So if they attack you, you get a free card, not free card, but you draw a card. And if they don't, you both gain 3 life. So you're probably asking yourself, why the hell is this in my deck? And the answer to that question is just for turn 0. In a turn 0 truce in this deck is actually the nuts. Because you either gain life, which is what you want to be doing, or you get a free card to block with that gets you closer to your combo. And because it's a non-attack 3-block blue, we're not paying any opportunity cost to play this card. Yes, it is a 2-card 6. We are never resolving this card if it's not turn 0. That is the only reason it's in this deck. If you go first, you play it. That's simple. That is why. Because, once again, you play this card, you arsenal, you draw up. Boom. It's their turn. They're going to attack you. You just draw a card. Boom. Now you have 6 cards. You can start blocking with a lot of them. You can actively play a decomposed card out and it not cost you. You can draw fruits and discard it. You can draw a D-React for your arsenal. You can draw a sigil and gain some life. There's so many things that you can do. Or it allows you to scepter, right? Which is also accomplishing what you're actively trying to do. Okay? So I know the list looked a little bit unconventional at first, but I promise the logic, the reasoning, it's there. Amplify the Arcanite. Once again, we're trying to discharge those rune chants, get as much value, but the most important part is decreasing the amount invested to do so. I don't give a shit about 2-card 8s. I give a shit about presenting damage with as little card investment as possible to keep my life total as high as possible to increase the amount of times I get to trigger my hero ability. It's literally that simple. That's why Cadaverous Tilling's not in the list. That's why Autumn's Touch is not in the list. Earthform, I see the argument. It's a 2-block though. Why not call Grave plus Count Your Blessings Rainbow? Because you can't block. That's why. Playing Call Grave, if you're playing that card, you're not blocking. You're taking damage to do that. I don't think that it is a I hate how much that makes sense. Yeah. Once you think, I know I bet half of you thought I was an idiot when I said I wasn't playing this card. And once again, it comes from a situation where you have to kind of start from scratch with what you trust me. I'm all about some fucking 2 for 8s. I invented the Earthbriar deck, right? The Beefy Briar, whatever you want to call it, right? I'm all about playing this shit. I love these cards. But it's not what we're trying to accomplish with the deck. It's not what we're doing. It's not what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to keep our life total as high as possible and get as much value from that hero ability as we possibly can. Let me go over some of the, in the longer games, we need the Runeblood Incantation. Also, it pairs perfectly with Tunic. Then we have this for simply Arcane Barrier. Simple as that. I've already explained this. If the matchup's super quick, it's a way to get another Earth card in the Banish Zone. If I'm playing against a life gain hero, we throw this bad boy in. And yeah, Arcane Barrier, I've already explained that. Swaps in for this round's on me against other Runeblades and Azalea. Riptide as well, I guess. And then Seed of Tomorrow is against Wizard. Simple as that. That is your first Florian deck tech, whatever the case may be. Let me answer some question. Does Truce work against non-tech actions from Wizards to deal Arcane? No, because it's not an attack. Weapon swing or attack action card, I believe, is the only thing that qualifies. That's a great question, though. That is a great question. Am I the only one who actually likes Truce and thinks it's a good card? If you're talking about not playing it on turn 0, yes, you're the only one, Brad. I feel like Vis just has to be better at this, though. Yes and no. Yes and no. The difference is... So, yes, he is better at accumulating rune chance. Yes. But he dies a lot quicker. So, Viserai's game plan in this like OTK type of strategy is, on average, he has to invest more cards per turn to accumulate the rune chant value. Whereas Florian doesn't have to invest shit at all. Yes, and of course allies count as well because they are an attack. But yeah, so like that's the thought process. Yes, he generates rune chants faster, but he takes a lot more damage and shortens the game a lot quicker. Is the trade-off. Read the runes red's still good. It's not what you want to be doing if, like, it's great when you are turned on, right? Like when your hero ability's on, but at the same time, it's a 2-block. What if you draw like a Felling the Crown and a Read the Runes? Like you get put in this really weird situation where it's like, now I'm blocking with the 2-block and I don't really need these rune chant. It's just, it puts you in some weird spots. I'm definitely open to having my mind changed. I just like cards that ask questions. That's true. I'm planning to start my journey on Runeblades. Only played Warriors for now. Do you think I should start with Florian or Aurora? If you're very aggro-minded, like you enjoy aggro decks, I would recommend Aurora. If you like more mid-rangey block back and forth, probably Florian. If you're talking about strictly competitive viability, I would recommend Aurora. You cooking that Vynnset spice? Of course. Of course. But it's not ready yet. It's not ready. And I try to put quality behind the stuff that I give you. I'm not trying to get clicks, likes, anything like that. I try to put a lot of thought behind all of this and give all of you something that would be considered a finished product, right? So I'm not going to give the Vinny list. It's not ready. The Aurora list is ready, but I'm playing the show match on Friday against Blue Pitch, and that is where that list will be revealed. I'm not going to reveal it now. I'm going to keep you on the edge a little bit, you know? So please tell me you're on tempo / aggro vis, then that would be correct. That is the current way that I'm building Viserai. I will tell you that much. "10 feet tall and bulletproof." Yeah, we're not throwing 10s. I mean, sure, you get to block 10, but then you're taking more damage when you only draw 2 cards. So, did you see the Bagel TCG put Queen of Pain in C tier? Yeah. No comment. No comment. Yeah. So once again, if you're interested in this list, at the conclusion of the stream, I'm going to post the February link in the TheCardGuyz Discord. If you're not in the Discord, there's a link in the description of the stream right now. Go ahead and join. I will post it in the channel labeled live stream decks. at the conclusion of the stream if you're interested in just picking it up and playing it on Tower Shard for yourself. So let's go ahead and move on over to Aurora. Let's talk about some Aurora. That was the one that had the third highest amount of views, and then we'll talk about Viserai. You were waiting for the Aurora deck tech. I'm sorry. I just can't. It feels wrong to, like, you know. I tell you what, chat. It takes the suspense out of the show match, right? If I'm playing Aurora in the show match and, like, people are interested in, like, what I'm playing or how it plays, and I don't know, I feel like if I just throw everything out there now, like, why would you watch the show match? You know? That's the content creator coming out of me. Would you look at my Vin list? It's in a simplified all three of. I mean, I'll check it out. Yeah, I'm definitely going to talk through the hero 100% because Aurora is actually a very interesting one. Okay. And we'll go and do that now. Let's go ahead and talk about Aurora. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about Aurora. And this one's tricky. This one actually took the most amount of time to actually find a direction I wanted to take this hero. A lot of people are going to look at this hero and it's like, oh, it's an aggro deck, you know, put Snatch in, next, you know. And they're not entirely wrong, but there's a lot, if you go really deep, there's a lot of different directions you can take this hero. And it actually revolves around this weapon right here. But if I'm being 100% honest, it revolves around the weapon along with the hero ability. Okay? But you have to talk as fast as Aurora would. That's good. That's good. So the hero ability costs 2, and Starfall costs 1, right? Everybody knows the deck needs lightning starters. That's common sense, right? You need, you need to turn on both of these effects. That's self-explanatory. But the question is, what do you do with the resources after? What do you do once you've paid for your weapon swing? Do you buy the embodiment? Do you maybe not swing Starfall and throw 1-for-5s that have on hits? And then make an embodiment? And maybe not use the weapon as much? Or here's an interesting one. Do you play a lightning starter, swing weapon, and throw a CNC? Those are all very valid cost curve assessments, right? They all make sense. That is literally like IRA numbers to, throw a Lightning Surge from Arsenal for 4, Starfall for 2, CNC for 6. Those are really good numbers. That's a 3-card 12 with a good on hit. That's like really good. But it presents a little bit of a problem. And that problem is blue lightning cards suck. Like, they're bad. So basically, you have to answer, do you want a wide deck where you're trying to take advantage of things like Arc Lightning and Flicker Wisp? Everybody knows about that combo now. Also, you can take it a step further with Sting of Sorcery, although I think that's a trap. Me personally, I thought about it, I played around with it. I just don't think it works. And it's iffy because what we need to do before we actually determine which one's correct, either the 2 for 6 route, the 1 for 5 route, or just keep everything at 0. We have to determine the value of an embodiment of lightning token. Because that's ultimately what we're debating. We're saying, should we throw a CNC or make an embodiment and include consistency? Well, chat, I would start that conversation by asking you, what is the value of an embodiment of lightning? And it's not an easy question to answer. It's not an easy question to answer. I could tell you what it cost, but what's its value? Because what if you draw a hand and everything has go again? Then the value is 0. What if you draw a hand that does absolutely nothing unless you have an embodiment? Well, then it's worth 10. And the correct answer on what the value of a embodiment of lightning is the answer is I don't know. The answer is nobody knows. What we can do is use my patented card counting strategies to create an implied value assessment on what we think the embodiment of lightning could be worth. What do I mean by all that? I mean, I've seen a lot of my starters. Let me invest in an embodiment of lightning. Or, hey, I haven't drawn any starters. Let me block with this blue instead of investing in an embodiment of lightning. Those are the type of decisions that I think take Aurora above and beyond. And basically, I came to the conclusion that I wanted flexibility on whether I wanted to invest my blues or not. That's what I decided. If you run 2 cost, you have to have your blues. And I hate to break this to you, you have to run more of them. If you run 1 cost, if you're not on a tunic counter, it is a dead card. It literally does nothing, which I wasn't too happy about. I found too many situations where running the 1 cost just did not really do it. But then there's the Cheerios deck. And man, I mean, it just hums. I can block with the blue. I can make an embodiment for extra consistency on the next turn. And swing weapon. I don't have to sacrifice one or the other. I mean, you just get to fit it all in one. You get to go wider for the specialization because you can actually play your blue out if it's like a 0 cost lightning card or whatever the case may be. I have found that the 0 cost just won the race because of consistency. It was because of less ratios baked into the equation. Does it have less on hits? Sure. You're not packing CNC, weakest link, and things like that. But you're not bricking, right? Because you draw those without blues, it gets hairy really quick. So I am under the impression that the correct way to build Aurora is Cheerios. That is the conclusion that I've came to. Okay? Obviously, this is an amazing card. We're going to start walking down the cards now. This is not on clue of you should be on 3 of these unless you're on like a heavy 2 for 6 deck. If your whole deck is designed to play like lightning, starter, sword swing into 2 for 6, if you're trying to do that every single turn, probably don't play this. Might not be worth it. This is a very interesting card that's very hard to kind of break down. But basically, if you deal a bunch of arcane damage, you blow up a bunch of tokens. This can be good to clear Spectra, but you have to deal the damage is the problem. So Enigma, it's not really that good because the ward that you would want to blow up is stopping the arcane, which means you're not actively uh, accomplishing what you're trying to do. But there are some neat interactions where you can like blow up seismic surge tokens or whatever, right? Anything that is an aura. Want to link to what I cooked. I think there are 8 free spots still for Aurora. Yeah, you can send it to me. Send it to me on Discord if you can, and I'll take a look at it. I tell you what, that's actually a good exercise to do at the close of the stream. If anybody wants me to look at something that they are kind of cooking up, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I'll look at it for like 1 or 2 minutes and kind of say this is not jiving with this, and kind of like give you some pointers on which direction to go and whatnot. I'd be more than happy to do that. The only way I'd like to do that though is if you send me your Fabry link on Discord. So please do that if you're interested in me doing that. Okay, so kind of situational, probably a sideboard card. That's how I currently have it. Put 3 of these in your deck. Next. Let's go to the lightning. All right. So there's actually a huge conversation on whether you run and I've kind of already talked about it earlier, but currently I'm on the lightning greaves because I have found that going more into instances for specifically this card, holy shit, this card is so good. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay. So if it wasn't for this card, I would be on snaps, if I'm 100% honest with you. But because of this card, we're on the greaves. 100%. But I agree with you in chat. Like I like Snapdragons. It feels natural in the deck. Like you didn't invest in that embodiment. It gets you a way out, right? I do agree that Snaps is good in the list. However, because of this card specifically, I think Lightning Greaves is just better. Me personally. These are not playable. I told you to add 3 of these into any lightning deck, period. No questions asked. This is insane. Throw 3 of these in. Throw 3 of these in. Boom. I told you we would revisit this card earlier once we established how bad or good a 1 cost is. And in my version of Aurora, I don't want to play 1 cost. I don't want to do it. I want to have a card has to be so good that every time I draw it, I force myself to invest in a blue. And the only card that I have found that was good enough to require me to do that is not Lightning Form. It's not Magnetism. It's actually Red Electrify, only from Arsenal. That is the only card that I think is good enough. And here's the secret, chat. It's a sideboard card for me. I don't even play it all the time. So that's the only card where it's like, yep, it's a 1 cost. Send it. Right? Send it. This card, insane. Oh, we didn't talk about Blast to Oblivion. I am currently on it. I think it's good. But it's not as good as you think. It's a 0 for 4, so the bar is not that high, right? And it does have some interactions with Channel Lightning Valley, and if you are on, which you should be, the Sigil of Lightning and things like that. So there are some interactions, but it's not like a bomb that a lot of people are making it out to. It makes for some pretty good turns, but 75% of the time it's just 0 for 4. 0 for 4 lightning card. Somersault is nuts. It's insane. I don't know how else. I've already talked about this card. Throw 3 of them in. We're on the Cheerios list, so of course we're only able to run the red ones. Flash Freeze, I don't think it's good enough because why, chat? If I'm not mistaken, it cost 1. That's why it's not good enough. I do like Flicker Wisp, though. Arcane Shelter doesn't trigger what we want it to. Flittering Charge is good if you're heavy on the instance. Okay. If you're more non-attack based, this card gets really bad really quick. Fry, for ratio purposes, this is like the worst lightning starter I consider. So basically it's come in and out of the list multiple times, just trying to balance those ratios. I think currently at this moment I am off of them, but next Tuesday they might be in. You know, it's that close. It's that close. It is not a guarantee. Throw it in your deck, but if you need more starters, this is a great place to look. Heaven's Claw, you can run the blue one because it blocks 3. Other than that, you should ignore it. Throw 3 of these in. You won't regret it. This one's iffy. This one's actually very, very interesting. And the reason for that is I think this card is good. It's a pet peeve of mine of playing card. Meet and Greet's a good example, where it's like, if your opponent doesn't do this, you get to do what you're planning to do. But what if they don't? It really sucks. And that's why I think this card I think it's a good card. I wouldn't blame anybody for running it. Me personally, I just cannot stand cards that give my opponent agency over my turn. I can't stand it. So it has never been in my list. It probably, unless somebody breaks the game with it, it will not be in my list because I just cannot stand cards that do that. I just can't. Simple as that. But it is a good card. I'm going to give the card credit where credit's due. Okay. Trip to Light. The only color I would run personally is blue. Just as a kind of pseudo D-react kind of situation. But you're only getting 2 value. Only getting 2 value. It's not that amazing. Flash, not worth it. Not worth it. You have enough action point generation to where you're not really kind of forcing yourself into that. Electrostatic Discharge. This is actually your best starter. Believe it or not, this card is one of the best cards in your deck from a consistency point of view. It turns on this card. It allows you to do some shenanigans with this card. It allows you to do stuff with this card. I mean, just so many different things that it can give you action points here. I mean, it just checks all the boxes, right? Same thing for Sigil of Lightning, where it just does it all because it's a lightning instant specifically. Although this affects just a little bit better because it's guaranteed value, whereas this one's kind of iffy, but it comes in blue. So obviously Face Purgatory is super good. We're going to run that probably, but keep in mind, if you're really high on those instant counts, it can get a little clunky, but always remember, at worst, it's a 2-block. That's the floor. It's not a bad place to be for a floor, right? But if you're at like 15 non-attacks, I have found that's enough. It's going to hurt a lot of people. It's going to force you to block with your burn up every now and again, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Snuff Out is a no-go for me. So is Dominion. We just don't have the aura consistency that I would like. We don't do enough arcane damage for Succumb. This does not kill people. This stops you from getting killed. Therefore, we're throwing it in the bin. We're not playing this card. Done. Don't have to think about it. This costs 3. No shot. That costs 3. No shot. No. Maybe. If you want to sprinkle in a little arcane, I don't think it's a bad card. I think it's actually pretty solid. Especially my list is currently on the Specialization and Flicker Wisp. So this could make it worth it. I can see a world where you could kind of like, the problem is in Aurora, when I look at this card, I think the real power behind it is the ability to stack them and kind of use them when you want. Aurora, you can't do that. You block for shit. You got to attack a bunch of times a turn. So you get 3 turns and it's right then and there. So you can't like play this and wait for the Flicker Wisp, right? If they line up, cool, you get extra value. But like, um, it's a 0 for 3. That's how it should be looked at, with a little bit of evasion. No, not 0 cost. This very difficult to give go again. Not worth the payoff. No, we don't make enough auras for this to be consistent. Same here. Same here. Easy. No, and of course, no. So that is my kind of synopsis on Aurora. I really favor the 0 cost deck build, specifically because I really value that consistent, and you keep the aggression. You keep all. I will leave you with a little bit. I'll leave you with a nugget about my deck. My Aurora deck. The most impressive card that I've added to my Aurora deck. We are running Grass for Hands, of course. Exude Confidence, chat. Exude Confidence in Aurora is fucking insane. Because they can't play their D-Reacts. You get the Lightning Press a burn up. I've never seen somebody shake because of an attack action card like they have. Exude Confidence in Aurora specifically. All those on-hit effects. You don't know if Aurora has a blue. You don't know if they have a Channel Lightning Valley. You don't know what they possibly have. We'll give everybody a little taste of what we're cooking up with Aurora. But Exude Confidence is one of the best cards you could possibly add in Aurora. Nobody cares about Coax of Commotion. Exude Confidence. That's where you want to be. Okay? It's anti-fatigue. It's put the assassins in a shitty situation because they can't hide behind their sink below. I mean, New literally cries. I'm telling you guys. There's your little nugget. A little sample for Friday. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the main man, the OG, the one and only, the Viserai. We're going to talk about, let me see how many messages I have. I have a couple message requests. Let's see. There's a Vinny deck. And okay. All right, so we're going to look at a Vinny deck and Aurora deck at the end. That's what I have so far. But first, I'm going to hit on Viserai. Okay. So, Viserai. First, we have to establish what we want to do with our Vis deck, right? Because we have so many different avenues. We can like, holy shit, OTK, like all the way. I think Florian might do that a little bit better. But then you have like that sweet spot in the middle from like Chance and Daggers where you can do the Turtle Burst strategy. And then you have like the tempo build / aggro. But you also have a new archetype with Viserai, and that is I don't even know what I would call it. It's more like a setup and go deck where you're on like these 2 to 3 turn cycles. You're really just trying to set things up, have a really good turn, lose as little life as possible in between. Like you're not playing turn to turn. You're not trying to go attack Nebula Blade, attack Nebula Blade. You're not trying to do that. You're trying to like block out almost your entire hand, maybe play a Read the Runes, and then just have like a really good turn, right? And so me personally, I don't think there's any validity to like hardcore OTK. So I think we could just throw that one out. I think Florian probably does that strategy a little bit better. So that leaves us with three options. We go tempo aggro, set up and go, or turtle burst, right? The problem with turtle burst is there's too much damn armor in the format. It's just too much of it. Simple as that. There's a fuck ton of it. And basically, isn't that turtle burst? No, because what we would do with this strategy is we would focus more on like cussing dirge, rattlebones and ninth blade, stuff like that. It's not really trying to pump the art. I guess you could draw a comparison, sure, but the turtle burst strategy relies solely on Arc Knight ascendancy, and whereas the setup and go is kind of more fluid, and you don't just absolutely get hosed by warmongers when you're. I guess it also doesn't require any certain cards, right? Whereas turtle burst, you're trying to sit on a pump, wait for the attack or a card that goes gets it, or vice versa. So it requires simply less, right? And then we have the option to. So the last thing I said before I was answering chat was I don't think turtle burst is the way because of the amount of armor in the format. For that reason alone, I think that the juice isn't quite worth the squeeze. But let's go ahead and dig into the cards. Talk about what's good, what's bad, what's kind of mid, so forth, right? Phase Purgatory. Let's go and throw that bad boy in there. Like we have with all the Runeblade decks. Card is just nuts. Absolutely nuts. Snuff Out. It's a bomb in Viserai. However, like I mentioned earlier, think about how you're delivering that arcane damage before the resolution of the on-hit effect. Or not delivering the arcane damage, but making. Wait, no, I'm referring to Succumb. My bad. This is just good. Mauve on it. Swing Nebula Blade. Good card. Blade. Good card. I was talking about this. Think about how you're delivering the arcane before the reaction step of when you would play this, right? Because if you're just making a rune chant in the back, this is not going to be turned on, which is going to present a problem. So try to think of a couple ways that you could deliver arcane before the reaction step in Viserai. This could be carrying over a rune chant from Nebula Blade. It could be, I don't know. I'll let you wonder. But I've came up with a couple. I'll show you when the deck's done. But that was this card is not implemented in Viserai is simply as it seems. There's actually another layer of it that you really got to nail down, and I'm in the process of doing that. But this absolute all-star. This is an all-star as well. Just throw this bad boy in. It's always turned on with Viserai, and you're good to go, right? Also have evasion. This on a snuff out. Pretty fucking good. And you always have the rune chant in the back to leverage the effect. Vexing Malice. Somebody's catching on. Somebody's catching on in chat. Haunting Rendition. I hate this card in Viserai. Please don't play it. It's not a non-attack. It doesn't make you an extra rune chant with this hero ability. It doesn't belong anywhere in Viserai. Unless you're on like some OTK strat. Don't play this. Don't play this card. Play these three cards. Play all three of them. Don't play this card. We don't want 3 cost. This one's actually pretty juicy when you have red mauve, but I don't think it's worth it, me personally. Condemned to Slaughter is actually a very interesting one. It does have a lot of applications in the specifically the Enigma matchup because you could just. Well, actually, it doesn't because it says each opponent destroys an aura permanent they control. So they get to pick. They're never going to pick their mirror guy. So this is basically money where your mouth is, but it blocks 3. You're just trying to swing this into Nebula Blade. If that's your thing, cool. I personally don't think that this is good enough. Me personally. I think this card's pretty good. It's not like amazing. The thing that I like the most about this card specifically is it smooths out a lot of stuff with like Drawn to the Dark Dimension, Amplify the Arknight, and cards like that. So it's above average. Not a bomb for Viserai, but it does something. It does something. We're just gonna ignore these. Nope. It fits the curve of Nebula Blade, but you're already stacking so many on. And 4 is like not really gonna be a break point in this meta, I believe. Which is the same reason why I'm not too crazy about Meet and Greet. This, for me, just kind of replaced Rune Flash. It's a more consistent, same thing, basically, is the idea. This in Viserai just does not cut it. It's a little too clunky, doesn't fit the curve. The one place it does have a perfect curve is play this Swing Nebula Blade. But you're never doing that because then they're going to block with like 1 card, a little bit of armor, and then they're going to push 4 cards at you, and you're going to lose this and not get any value from it. This card's pretty good. You always have this, and keep in mind, you always have a target. So you can play like Gorganian Tome, draw a card, turn on Viserai, and then you can play Dirge. When you play Dirge, Viserai trigger goes on the stack, makes the rune chant. Then Dirge resolves. None of the text on the card is a cost. So it all resolves when the card resolves, which the rune chant will already be there for being higher on the stack. So what I'm trying to say in a very convoluted way, you can blow up the rune chant that Dirge makes itself on the Viserai hero ability. So you can always just, this is always read the runes will go again. Every time. Read the runes will go again. Simple as that. Which makes it pretty good. This one's okay. I've been playing around with it a little bit. I don't know if it's worth it. I think there's just better blues, me personally. But I do think that the overall strategy of Viserai going forward is either going to be tempo aggro or kind of set up and go, but not turtle burst where you're not going to be investing everything on hits. You're just going to be playing more kind of like raw value on the setup and go is kind of the direction that I'm kind of thinking the deck will go. So let me go ahead and take a quick look. Also, Sonata Arcanics for arcane damage if that card makes the cut. It's actually an interesting one. I'm not 100% sold on Sonata anymore. And that's because every single day I'm loving Arknight Shard more and more. So it's all right. So let's go ahead and bring up the list. I think the Vinny person was the one who said it first, so I will go ahead and look at that one first. Very dangerous. Open up random links on stream, but I trust you guys. There's the Aurora list. Okay. Once again, for the context for the stream, this is not my list. Okay. This is not my list. Somebody sent it to me. I'm looking over it to kind of give them feedback on what I would change, would not change, so forth. Right off the rip, I love that you have Vex and Quill Hand. I don't think you need Grasp anymore. You have that much fluidity that all you need is just that one turn bailout. Huge props to you for running Vexing over Grasp. Should you have it still in the sideboard? Probably, right? Maybe. Don't even have it in the sideboard. I respect it. I have it in the sideboard for me, just because some matchups you just need that extra armor. But 100% agree that Vexing is the main way. I do like the flail and the oval. I'm on the same package there. I don't think there's any. I don't think it's worth a sideboard slot to run Purgatory uh over Crown. I think Purgatory is just fine. If you have the extra slot, I guess. But me personally, I would never run Oasis for Spite. Disrespect the shit out of Wizard. You just don't need it. Because once again, you just don't want to pitch. I mean, yes, you can use Tunic, but then if you're using Tunic on Oasis, you're not using it on Creepers, and it gets crazy really quick. So, love this card, love this card, love it, 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 love it. Mid. Mid on Sonata. It's okay. The importance of this card has dwindled a lot. I think this card's still fine, but the significance of it has been greatly reduced. And yes, you have 4 action points a lot of the time, or not 4 action points, but 4 rune chance to make sure that this card has go again. But at the same time, you know, I'm wishing this was in my Vynnset list. Currently, it is not, but I understand why it's there, and I'm not saying it's terrible. I just look at it. Ask yourself why it's there. Ask yourself what purpose is it directly serving. Good card. Me personally, this is in the sideboard now, but I think it has a place. Auto include. The goat, Succumb. And then auto include. So you are on the extra blue, which I think's perfectly valid. If you just need that little extra go again, it makes perfect sense. I think overall the list is very solid. Sigil of Suffering. I'm going to be 100% real with you. I would rather have Sink Below Filter than the situational arcane damage. That's just a preference for me, personally. I think that Haunting is really good. It's in my list as well. And Read the Runes can be situational. I have found that I've been less impressed with the Eloquence token off of Eulogy. If I don't run Read the Runes, what I found Read the Runes does in Vinny for me is it validates Eulogy. I don't think Eulogy needs validating. I think the fact that you get 4 in 1 for free or 0 cost 5 is like good enough. And you still have Funeral Moon that you can use it on, right? So it's not like not completely useless. It's not like you're not getting the hero text at all. So ask yourself, are you running Read the Runes for the right reason? Or are you running it because you feel like you got to because of Eulogy? The answer is yes. Maybe get rid of it. The answer is no. Keep it in there. I am not a fan of Lunging Press. No fucking way I'm running the card to deal 1 damage and force a non-hit. Nope. If the thought process behind this card is if you had to invest a card into the on-hit, what value are you actually getting from the on-hit? Let's look at Mauve Skies, right? Oh, you get 3 rune chance because you lunging pressed whatever. You spent a whole card. You didn't get anything. This card was worth 4 value because you got 1 and 3. Guess what? That's any average card. It's like mid and a half, right? And then if you draw it when you don't have a gnarly on-hit effect, or they block it, or they don't block anyway, and you just get +1, it's just a super feels bad. Obviously, you're going to auto-include this. I love Ebb and Fold. I found out about this card today. Shout out to Damien on the biggest problem that I had was finding ways to get more cards into the banner zone. We want to get them on into the banner zone. And I found that Ebb and Fold was a great way to kind of accelerate that because we have a lot more rune chant generation, a lot more go again due to Succumb and stuff like that. So overall, I think the list is fine. I think there's a couple cards that you just need to question. You just got to ask yourself, why is it here? And that is Sonata, read the rune, read the runes, lunging, and Oasis. Simple as that. Just extra copy of incantation. I do agree that back in the day, that like literally, uh, it was like super necessary, right? But I just don't think incantation is like that necessary. Like with Malefic and Dirge, like, do you need that extra rune chant? Like, it might be convenient sometimes, but it is what it is. But yeah, overall, very solid list. Let me answer a question in chat. Could you possibly expand on the OTK Florian idea when you have a minute? I feel like I'm missing how you get that many rune chants unless you're getting them down lowish first. So you're gonna decompose a couple times, right? Like felling the crown, plow under, whatever it's called. Um, and so they're gonna take some damage, right? They're gonna be at 30, 25, 20, whatever the case would be. And then you're gonna Mordred Tide germinate once or twice, right? It's kind of the idea. And then in between there, you're throwing Scepter a couple times when you have a free card and stuff like that. So, um, read the runes is for when you are on the play. Otherwise, I don't run. Yeah, I just don't know if it's worth. I used to do that in Viserai, and I found that one was enough. I don't know if running 3 copies is something when going first, second. Running for Spell Void. Oh, see, I like Ebb and Fold not for the Spell Void. It's a plus, but I actually like the effect. What decks do you bring Ebb and Fold into aside from Wizard that get extra banish? Anywhere where you feel like you need to keep attacking and you don't need Purgatory is kind of the thought process. I haven't kind of fleshed out which matchups exactly we want, but if there's a matchup where you need to go faster because you're on some type of artificial clock, that's the way to do it. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this Aurora deck. Once again, stream, this is not my list. And I'm just going to kind of go over it. Automatically off the rip, I love a decision that has been made. I don't know if it's why you did it, but I love it. Okay. There's 2 of Somersault right here. Okay. When I see that, I automatically think that you're trying to reduce the chances of drawing 2 of them in one hand, which is actually very smart because it doesn't do a whole lot unless you have very, very specific cards. It can be very clunky. This one, you just play them out, right? Like there's a lot of the instance where if you draw 2 of them, it's like not the end of the world, right? You can always play more Lightning Press, and so on. So, but this one specifically is very hard to utilize if you get more than 1 copy. So I don't know if you just had to make a ratio work or if that was your logic behind that decision. But should be like 16, right? If you have a tunic counter, sure, for 13 if you don't. More specifically, it's 13 to 16 rune chance plus you gain 6 life. So if you just do that twice, you're good. Okay. Burn up, of course. I'm not a huge fan of this because I like to keep my shit. See, you're throwing a couple 1 cost, so it's just a difference in philosophy. I understand why it's there. I'm not a huge fan on yellow electrify. I think that's a little greedy. Me personally, I would take that out and put in the blue lightning sigil. Me personally, I think the red one's fine. I think the red one's good enough. But that's what I would do. I love static shock. I love sizzle. Uh, photon is mid and a half. It blocks 3. Blocks 3. Blue lightning press, not a huge fan on. I think there's better cards that you can utilize. Not only that, but 12 blues. Ask yourself, do you need that many? With you having the 1 cost, probably. But if you're on Cheerio, maybe you only need 9. Just a thought. Just throwing that out there. Other than that, list looks solid. Looks solid. A couple cards that I would recommend you ask. Just ask yourself why they're there. Ask yourself on the yellow electrify, the one cost. Ask yourself what are you gaining by actually right? Because like this card right here, your non-attack action cards, this chain link, as though they were an instant, right? Well, how many of those do you actually have? One, two, three, four. And this one, like, doesn't really do anything. You have 4 non-attack actions in the deck, right? Or 4 times, that'd be 4 times 3 at 12. Where are we getting 18? Am I missing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and that one doesn't really count because you're never playing that like after. You just lose value. So yeah, like 12 playable cards that like make this make sense, right? And so I don't know. It blocks 3. I'll give you that, but you only have to pay 10. But Germinate triggers X plus 1 time. Yep. How do you play Mordred and pitch 12? No, you just pitch 10. Mordred, Germinate, 3 blues and a tunic counter is 10 resources. X equals 5. Therefore, there's 6 instances of rune chant generation. So 6 on the card, 6 from Florian, 6 from the hero ability, or Mordred Tide, would be 18 rune chants. Okay, if you didn't have tunic counter, you just knock 3 off of that. So it'd be 15 or 18, whether you had the tunic counter, and then you gain 6 life. That's the delta that you're trying to look at. If that makes sense. Yeah, 15 to 18 rune chants should be the answer. Final answer. Not 13 to 15. Yeah, so that's pretty much gonna sum up what like I wanted to talk about today. I mean, I've been talking for like 2.5 hours about Runeblade, which is like what I would want to. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy about talking about powerful cards that I can actually play in my favorite class. But I'm here to answer your questions. So if you have anything, please drop them. Please drop them, and I would love to answer any questions you may have. It could be about anything. I'm going to leave the chat open for 5-10 minutes or so, and then when it dries up, I will go ahead and close us out. But I just wanted to throw a couple reminders out. We have the show match against Team Blue Pitch this Friday, starting at I forget what time. Look on the channel. I think it's already posted. But basically, check that out. And then also next Wednesday, during my normal stream time, I will be doing the tier list. I'll be doing the post Rosetta tier list, kind of like getting people in the right mindset the um for the Pro Quest season that is very quickly approaching. Um, how do you feel about How do you feel that Viserai is the GOAT? I don't know. Okay, 10 p.m. Eastern is when the show match starts. I don't know if he's the GOAT. He's good. He's really good. Unbanned Dustblade, no shot. No shot. As much as I would love that. No shot. I don't know if I missed it, but who are you most excited to play? Not just for competitive strength, but for enjoyment. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Aurora is so much fun to play. It is so much fun to play because everybody makes like the Phi joke, right? It's like 3 go again, 3 go again. Aurora's kind of like the same thing if you're on the Cheerios build, but it's like I'm gonna play this, bounce this, play this instance here to like make this come back to my hand, and like just there's a lot more decision points that feel impactful, that feel like I'm making an impact on the game. I feel like I'm doing something flashy, no pun intended, and something powerful, right? Because it is a bunch of 0 for 4s flying at you instead of head jabs. Pretty good. Bunch of on hits, feels relevant. So as far as like playability, entertainment value, Aurora 100%, no question. What do you think about the new Briar card, and how do you feel about it for LL? I think it's an auto include in any Briar list. The one thing that I need to investigate is I need to find out if there is a loop to consider between the new card and Blossoming Spellblade. That's the one thing I need to consider. Is Reaping Blade good? There are finally life gain decks. I have Reaping Blade in the sideboard for every deck except Aurora, as far as the Runeblades go. I have it in Benny in the sideboard. I have it in Viserai in the sideboard, and I even have it in Florian in the sideboard. Because life gain is one hell of a drug. That is a fact. Okay, real question. Out of the four Runeblades, which one out the gate think is the best, and why is it Vynnset? Actually, is Vynnset. I think that Vynnset is the best Runeblade right now. I do agree with that statement. It is time that we finally ball. Also, are you going to get any Briar Marvels? Of course. I'm just going to wait for the prices to cool off. You think OTK with aggro switchboard is the best way to build Florian for the meta coming up? The problem is, I don't think that list can exist. I think there's just not enough space in the sideboard. If you could build that deck specifically, I think you'd break Flesh and Blood. It did both things halfway decent. I just don't think that it exists because all the cards that are aggressive block 2, and everything that OTK wants blocks 3 or 4. Simple as that. Aurora is so cool. I love mid-range decks. I think I will end up on Florian, but Aurora spec, Dawn and the Flash are the two coolest cards of the set. Dawn and the Flash is insane. I think Fatigue Florian with Grasp and Reaping Blade is gaming. I agree. Have a good night, Nathan. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. It does feel good to have decks that are high tier that don't rely and need standard generics. That was actually the biggest complaint that I got when I played Briar. I most of the time it was when I would win a game, they'd be like, "Man, this is just a bunch of generics. Deck doesn't even have an identity or whatever." And they were kind of right. It was like Scar for Scars and Snatch, and Rabble, and they're not wrong. It was literally just blue cards, and the only reason we ran those is because we needed to play Channel My Heroic. So I agree. What's your take on who will be the most underrated hero? Not just Runeblade. I feel like Vinny is gonna be popular, so I'm less interested in playing it. From a underdog perspective, I think I would look at Verdance. I think a lot of people are down on Verdance, myself kind of included. I don't think that she was as bad as she was when they were first starting to spoil her. I thought she was like unplayable, like Arachne bad, until very recently when I'm starting to get a grasp on it. I don't think she's great, but I think she does something that's like relevant. Ball is and has always been in our court, fellas. Absolutely. As someone who's been a Vinny enjoyer since release, I'm very excited. Me too. Me too. Will warmongers become more prevalent? Of course it will. Will that impact the Runeblades as an Azalea main? I hope not. It depends on how the Runeblades build their decks and what Runeblade they're playing, right? I think the number one reason to play this Runeblade or not play this Runeblade is literally the impact of warmongers. I think it's how much risk do you want to expose yourself across the different Runeblades. I want a world where Runeblade is back to being a powerhouse. I think we're there. I think we're there. Can we use blue carapace in Florian since it's a blue? You can, absolutely. I actually had the blue one instead of the yellow one. It's a preference thing. The only way that it's actually better is if you're trying to play Fell in the Crown, but like the only card you're actively trying to cast like that is Felling the Crown. The Plow Under is a yellow, so or 2 cost, so you can actually get away with pitching the yellow. And the weapon costs 2. So like there's a lot of ways where the yellow's kind until you combo. That's when the blue is important, right? But that's where your pitch stacks can come in. How do you feel about Warmonger turns being saved by a rune jab with Malefic on board and high note? Um, that is one way that you can kind of salvage it. I think that's going to be interesting where the sideboards go to kind of leverage that risk in regarding warmongers. But yeah, there's a lot of innovation that can be had to reduce your exposure to warmongers. So then would you say that 30 earth cards and roughly 15 decompose is perfect amount? Let me check the numbers on mine. Once again, as soon as this stream concludes, I'm going to go to the Card Guys Discord channel and post my Florian list in the live stream decks channel. So if you're not there, join that. The deck list will be there in like 10 minutes. Currently I'm running earth cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 27 earth decompose. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 12. 12 decompose. 1227 is what I'm currently on from a ratio perspective. Oh, let's see. Is there any room for future CMH Florian builds? Absolutely not. Please don't play CMH in your Florian deck. And I've been mathing on her, and I think she's real neat. Absolutely. KO seems like he's going to be back to being very popular. I agree with that sentiment. I think that KO is in a very good spot currently. He's going to have to solve a problem, and I'm very interested to see if he can. But I think he's in a pretty good spot. Always lurk, but just wanted to say it was a pleasure to meet you at the world premiere. I got nervous and no worries. I really do appreciate it. And shout out to Brazil. They've been showing a lot of love at these events lately. Such a good community down there. Shout out to Brazil. Yeah, for Florian, I'm on no CMH and no broccoli tree. I'm not on any of it. I think it's too heavy of an investment. I want to block more. I don't want to play 2-card threes or even 2-card 6 if you keep it around. I'm a Levia 1 trick, but have been Vynnset dabbler. Yep. Current plan is to likely to try mostly instant base Aurora list to dodge the warmongers. That's a good way to tackle it. I'm actually doing a transformative sideboard in my Aurora deck to where I go more non-attack based in the decks that won't run warmongers, and then I can switch to a more instant based. That's the method that I took with my Aurora deck that you will see on Friday if you see the show match. Is KO's problem Enigma? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. When I was first starting Fab, I gave myself the choice of building a budget Olympia deck or a budget Vynnset deck. I chose Olympia to invest in. Now look at me. Yeah. It was definitely the lesser of the two choices, but hey, it happened. Make sure you come to Jax's Pro Quest this year. That's the one in Mississippi, right? Need you to sign my Aria map. Absolutely. I should be there. I should be there. Enigma will become a major player in the metagame. Absolutely. I agree. All right. It looks like chat is drying up. Once again, I'm about to, as soon as the stream concludes, I'm going to post the Florian deck list in the Um, what is Enigma's weakness? Aggro. Just consistent aggression is the answer. Or a hero ability that completely wipes her board. Inset. Oh, Jackson, Tennessee. I'll be at that one as well. Yep. I will be at Jackson, Tennessee as well. That's what, Canada's collectibles or whatever? Yeah, I'll be there. I'm planning to anyway. Um, but yeah, thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. We stayed at like 200 people for the whole stream. I really do appreciate everybody being here. Um, expect a lot more content coming for Runeblades. It's our time. So I'm really excited to explore, learn. I don't claim to know everything. I just have a lot of experience with these heroes, and um, yeah, I hope to try and give people value on which direction they want to go, learn some stuff together with all of you, and yeah, next stream will be the the tier list. Of course, we got to do it right, and yeah, and we'll do the show match on Friday. So I can't wait to see everybody at those. Thank you all so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Have a